in today's video, we're talking about 3 books that'll help you become a better teacher. So if you're interested, keep on watching.
Oh, it's on tonight. Throw that thing from left, right, side to side.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Productive Teacher. I'm Ashley, the Productive Teacher, and hopefully you're gonna come along to become even more productive every video you watch. At number 3 is The Together Teacher by, I'm gonna put her name on the screen because I don't wanna butcher it. What's good about this book is it is teaching you how to be productive as a teacher. And the premise of the book is that a lot of other productivity books, for example, like Atomic Habits, 12-Week Year, or Getting Things Done, are aimed at just a regular schmegular person. However, teachers have their own kind of conundrum and dynamic in terms of dealing with multiple people's problems as well as our own. And so she wrote this book specifically for teachers, and it actually is very accurate. Like, it gives you ways to deal with teacher related stuff. So for example, she breaks it down from all the way in terms of creating a calendar to creating a daily worksheet to creating a place to just dump information and you can pull it later on. And so I have an example of my weekly worksheet here on the screen. And so I have a digital version as well as a paper version. If you're interested, link in the description. But if you're interested, I recommend you read the book. But there's also a course, a free course that I'll link below. It is like very short, and it was the first way I was introduced to it, and after that I decided to read the book. So highly recommend it, especially if you're struggling with managing your time. The young lady who wrote the book eventually became Teacher of the Year and has traveled the world, or traveled the country, teaching teachers and principals and various other titles how to be the together person. All right, number 2 is Balance with Blended Learning by Catlin Tucker. I love this book. Once I read it, I went to stalking her on Twitter, and anything she did or made, I wanted to know all about because the book was so amazing. It was pre-COVID, and so this was kind of phenomenal in teaching you how to blend your learning in terms of, and I'll just give you a little gist. It was like, okay, you should create instructional videos instead of teaching every class the same thing. If you're gonna teach something the same way, if you're gonna teach something the same way over and over again, just create an instructional video and then put that out. While the students are learning on the instructional video, you can pull students to do interventions, stuff like that. Some of the main things I loved about her some of the main things I loved about her book was like student-led conferences where you have the student in the conference with the parent, and you give them like a template prior to, they fill it in, and then they talk to their parent about where they are in the class, what their grade is, why it's that way. And so the parent has no real reason to really get upset with you because their child is telling them, and the parent can interact with their child. Well, why do you have this grade? Well, why haven't you been in class? Et cetera, et cetera. Piggybacking off that is another thing she had was student emails. So instead of you sending out a progress report, each week she set a time and she told her students they had to email their parent and CC her what their grade was and why it was that way. And she had a template for it. And so parents would interact with their student, and she would just kind of be sitting back like, yeah, that's what happened. And I've been using that, and it's been saving a lot of time and a lot of frustration because parents don't have any reason to be upset with me. It's like your kid is telling you X, Y, and Z. So highly recommend Balance with Blended Learning. Link in the description. All right, the last book that I love is a book called Adrenaline Rush by John Meehan. This book is amazing for gamifying learning. Honestly, I could give you so many things from this book that I use, but I just love the idea of a gamified classroom where kids are having fun all the time. So here are some examples from the book. So one example is the gamified syllabus. So every year, especially if you're in high school, you go through the syllabus. It's very boring. Who wants to do it? Instead, he has a gamified syllabus where they go through a series of activities in a game-based way. So he creates these stations, and then students move from station to station, and they have like a game board, and when they achieve finished, there's like this prize and all of these different things. So I love the idea of a gamified syllabus where kids are moving around instead of just kind of sitting there and passively learning about your class. He includes in that one of the stations is to chat with him. It's where he can kind of get to know students. So I really like the idea of the gamified syllabus. Another thing he talks about is figuring out a theme for each chapter. So maybe if you're teaching about the 20s, you might have, a Great Gatsby theme where you come in dressed as a flapper. And I like this, and if you're planning long term, you can plan this out. Or if you teach this class every year, you can add every year a theme. Maybe not start out trying to do all the things for example, I had 15 units this year. Well, I can't obviously plan 15 themes, but each year you add a theme and you reuse, I take my doors down and I roll them up. I usually laminate them, roll them up, and reuse every year. So you could do something like that. Another thing he created was the 15-minute feedback. For example, if they did a digital assignment, you could go through, as you have the digital assignment on one side, the Google form on another, you just click, 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 and then immediately it gives you some feedback, and you just copy and paste it into the doc and move on. Instead of having to type in individual feedback for every student, you could just use this Google form. So hopefully I gave you some books to read. I want to give you another tip. If you are a reader, but maybe you don't have time to read physical books and you prefer audiobooks, you may have Audible or audiobooks, but I recommend the Scribd app. And here's why. Because if you have Audible or audiobooks, you pay a subscription-based fee and you can only read 1 or 2 books and you have to buy the rest. With Scribd, you can read as many books as is on that's on their platform. And they have a multitude of books on their platform. Every book I have in here is on that app, as well as any book that's probably a bestseller is definitely on there, as well as a lot of educational books that are on that app. So I definitely recommend the Scribd app. If you click the link below, it'll give you a free 30-day trial. If you don't like it, you can go back to Audible, but highly recommend Scribd. Thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with any teacher that you think could benefit from it. Next week's video is how I lesson plan with Google Sheets. Bye!